Hey there, welcome to another week in review video for the Santiago Synopsis. As always, the articles I'm going to be referencing today can be found in the Wall Street Journal. The links will be in the Santiago Synopsis email, which is exclusive to Santiago/RLS Wealth clients, but it won't be hard to find these. You can Google these and find them if you want to read more. As I look at the list in front of me, just a few articles, three of them, actually more than three, four. Three of those articles are all about the Fed. Fourth one is about Intel and the stake that the government is taking in that company. So without further ado, let's get to the headlines that may or may not be impacting your life plan, financial plan, or portfolio. And they tend to be more towards the may not be impacting. So as I mentioned, the Fed dominating this week's video, which will probably be a short video. They were at Jackson Hole last week. Fed Chair Powell had some comments that he shared with the media. And the first thing, the highlight is, it looks like they will be finally cutting rates, lowering rates in September. This has been something that investors have been looking for. President Trump has been looking for, been vocal about, criticizing the Fed, criticizing Chairman Powell, threatening to fire him even though he's going to be out in May. But with the job market looking like it's continuing to get a little weaker, and I don't say weaker in a concerning way, but that there's not as much hiring going on as the Fed might want to see. So it gives them room to be able to lower the rates without worrying about inflation ramping up. Because if not as many people are being hired, then wages may not be increasing. Because if there's a lot of hiring going on, supply and demand allows wages to go up. If wages go up too fast, that can cause some inflation. So with the job market being a little bit weaker, it gives them room to cut. Now, when I say weaker, I mentioned there's not a lot of companies laying off, but there's also not a lot of hiring going on, and it's the lack of hiring which is the weakness that they're seeing in the jobs market. So I don't think it's anything to be alarmed about yet, but it's not what it was earlier where there's a lot of hiring going on, people moving around jobs. We're seeing that transition kind of slowing down, which may not be a bad thing in the long run, and it may get us lower interest rates, which everybody wants to see. Refinancing could go, that may help the housing market. So lots of positives could come from this potentially. But again, it's something that everybody's been looking for, and it looks like the first one's coming. The betting markets that are out there are expecting 2 interest rate cuts before the end of the year. So September we get one, and we'll see what happens after that. Another thing that was mentioned at Jackson Hole is the Federal Reserve is going to be looking at changing the strategy that they have been using. So every 5 years, I didn't know this, every 5 years the Fed is committed to reviewing the strategy they're using for making their decisions. So if we go back 5 years to 2020, it's a much different environment. 0% interest rates, different things going on in the world. So the strategy they implemented then is not necessarily best suited for when interest rates are higher and the employment situation looks different. So they did not say what they're going to be doing, but they're going to be reviewing that strategy and basically throwing the old one out with a new one that is better suited for today, looking forward the next 5 years. So I just thought that was interesting because, again, I didn't know there was a set schedule to when they reviewed their strategy, and I'm assuming there's probably the flexibility to review the strategy in between those 5 years if warranted. Final headline, Intel now has Intel has a new owner of 10% of the company, and it's the U.S. government. And this has a lot of headlines around it, but basically the U.S. set up a sovereign wealth fund, which a lot of other countries have, which is where the government actually has the ability to invest in companies. And the first one that we're seeing is Intel, which is an interesting story because shortly before this investment, President Trump was criticizing the CEO, saying he should be fired and removed. And a couple of days later, they have a meeting. Now everything is really good, and now we have a 10% ownership by the U.S. government in Intel. The negative around this is the government overstepping? What does it mean if they have a 10% ownership in a company? How much influence are they going to have on Intel? Are they going to be staying out of it and just participating in the potential upside, or are they going to be trying to influence what Intel does, which I don't think is the best, because as we've seen, government isn't necessarily the best at capitalism and businesses. They usually muck things up, and the market is better at handling business decisions and navigating business than government is historically. So those who are not fans of Trump are saying he's trying to do too much and take too much control. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing yet. It's one of the things where I think we just sit back and watch, pay attention, understand where this could go south, but also understand that it's not guaranteed to go south either. I do think there are some positives to the U.S. government investing in U.S. companies and participating in the upside. Because if you think about, we have this deficit, one way we can shrink the deficit is by growing the assets on the balance sheet, and one way to do that is through the markets. So there is a potential where this could be a good thing in the long run, but I understand the narratives and the fear and the concern around is the president and is the government trying to take up more space than they should and have too much control over things they shouldn't have control. And again, I don't know if we know that yet. I don't think we need to make any investment decisions. I don't think we need to panic. I don't think we need to worry too much about it, but just pay attention and see how things go, and also pay attention to what are some of the other companies that the government takes a stake in, because they've said they are going to do more investing like this. So to be determined how to react and what it means, but just something that has been a conversation piece around the investment circles, and just thought it'd be a good thing to bring up here as well. All right, that is it for this week's video. I told you it was going to be shorter, not a whole lot this past week. We'll see what the upcoming week has. I'll be back again next week. Until then, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.